it shows that they had also a very strong experience of faith. Very strong, something that gives them power. One of these friars, Father Dia Aziz, that was kidnapped by one ISIS cell, said me when there was an escape, very interesting thing. I won't be long, I don't know how much time. He's very nervous. His character, his friar is very nervous, becomes nervous, he explodes very easily. And when he was prison or wherever he was, he told me that he was always in peace. He felt peaceful, serene. And he told me, I cannot explain why I was so calm and in peace. I was praying, of course, all the time. But he said, I felt also the power of your prayer because I knew that you were praying for me. I think this can answer what you asked. I mean, that first of all, the experience of faith, they are also from a human point of view, strong personalities, but also there is something more that we cannot explain, but that anyway, it is touchable in the experience of all these friars and simple people in Syria.
We have time for one or two more.
What is the quality of the relationships that you have with the governments in the region? For example, Israel, Palestine, Lebanon, and also what kind of difficulties, or if any, do you and the friars face in terms of freedom of movement among the entire region of the custody?
We have relations, of course, with all the civil authorities, Israel, Palestine, Syria, what remains of Syria, at least with the Assad regime, Lebanon, Jordan, of course, the White House. With the high authorities, with government, ministers, prime ministers, president, kings, and so on, the relations are correct relations, usual. We meet regularly. Our problems are mainly with the local authorities, related with everyday life. And the movements are very difficult. For instance, it's very difficult to explain. For those that are in Israel, we cannot have direct connection with those that are in Syria. Even the phone connection, we cannot call, and vice versa. When I have to go to Syria, I need to have first 2 passports. I have to go or to Jordan or to Europe to change the passport that doesn't have Israeli stamp, then you can enter to Syria, and vice versa. And the movements are very difficult from in all the countries in the Middle East. In Syria now are almost impossible. I mean, for instance, from Damascus to Aleppo there are 4 or 5 hours of road. Now to move you need at least 2 days. You have to stop every 2-3 miles, controls, and at every control you have to understand in that moment what is the best way to go, because you don't know now if there are on the road there are rebels, a regime, which one, we have to ask, so it takes a lot of time and a lot of energies and economic resources.
Maybe we can get these last 2 questions together. Okay. So, do you know, and then that one.
Well, my question is this. In 2003, when President Bush was thinking of going into Iraq to eliminate Hussein, Pope John Paul II said that this is an adventure without return. The response in the West to the problem of radical Islam has largely been a military one. And again, in France now, Hollande is going to go after ISIS in Syria, and there's going to be more bombings, more attacks. I'm wondering if there's a correlation here between this exacerbation of radical Islam and the terrorism And the fact that, as Maria Teresa asked a few minutes ago, in the West, here in the United States, there has been almost an absolute disparagement of the Christian ideal. I.e., like in the United States, the decision of the Supreme Court to disparage traditional marriage, the issue of, lack of respect for human life. Do you see a correlation between these things? Is it clear?
Okay. It is a fact that Islam is the fastest growing religion in the world. Do you have any thoughts as to why?
It is true that the first question, Western countries, Western culture, Western ideals, values, have some responsibilities, of course, in what is going on, but I don't think it's the main reason. We are the main responsible. The main reason is inside the Islamic world, I think. This is my idea. All these radical movements, Islamic states, Al-Qaeda, all these fundamentalism is not born from nothing. The main reason is not just the Western countries. The main reason is inside. I mean, there is something in the Islamic teaching of today, Islamic teaching, that fits, create a context, cultural and religious context that gave the foundations to all the Islamic movements. This ideology of Islamic movements is not born from nothing, from the sky. There is something there. Today, Islamic teaching that create the premises, create the foundations for all these movements. So this, I think, is the main reason. And of course, there are collateral elements like the Western decisions, the invasion of Iraq, many other things, but this is not the main reason. The reason of the Islam to become so strong, I think they are very active in proselytism. When they arrive, where they arrive, first they build mosques. Where we arrive, first we build houses and schools, which is a different approach. And also they are growing, especially in poor countries, especially in Africa, and less in other parts of the countries. And also this demographic aspect, they are family are larger family than the Christian, at least in the Western countries. This is also part of that. We are not doing proselytism, not anymore. So this is also an answer.
Okay, we'll stop here the formal part of the program. I'd like to call to your attention a couple of things. One, that you found on your seat on your way in. We would like to be able to contribute somehow to the life of the Christians in the Holy Land, and also just to our brothers and sisters who are refugees now. And so ABSI, which is the non-government, non-profit organization, ABSI USA, the Association of Volunteers in International Service, is running a Christmas campaign on behalf of the refugees. And one of the works that we are sponsoring, if you see on the back, we're sponsoring the whole journey of refugees. The first is to help the Franciscans in their work in Aleppo, in the reception center in Aleppo. And that is to help Syrians who have been displaced from within their own country to remain in their own country. But then there are others who have been forced to flee, and so we are sponsoring also the Baby Jesus House in Erbil. We are sponsoring refugees in Lebanon, and eventually when some of the refugees will come here to the United States, one of the main refugee resettlement organizations is the USCCB, the U.S. Catholic Bishops and the Migration and Refugee Services. So we will also be sponsoring and supporting some of their work here. All the information is, so please take this home and read it. All the information is here for you to be able to give a donation. And I think that's at least one way that we can help our brothers and sisters in need. Crossroads Cultural Center is also a sponsor of the New York Encounter, which is a 3-day cultural event held in January. And you can pick up some brochures, and the program is almost ready for New York Encounter, and here is the almost finalized version of this. So we invite you all to the New York Encounter on the 15th through the 17th of January. And please join me in thanking Father Pierbattista PIZZABALLA, and thank you for your work, for your presence here.